The dawn broke over Falcon Air Base, casting a cold blue light across the expansive runway where gleaming F-15 Eagles rested in perfect formation. The sleek, angular shapes of the jets reflected the early morning hues, their polished surfaces catching faint glimmers of the awakening sun. Captain Elena Voss stood firmly on the tarmac, her boots pressing into the cool concrete as a gentle breeze carried with it the mingled scents of jet fuel and freshly cut grass. Nearby fields stretched out, dotted with neatly stacked hay bales whose golden hues shimmered softly, creating a striking contrast against the steel gray of the aircraft. The distant hum of engines revving and idling warmed her nerves slightly, a familiar soundtrack that both reassured and heightened her alertness. Beneath Elena's calm exterior, however, tensions simmered like a hidden storm. Recent reports hinted at unusual aerial activity near the border. MiG-29s, fast and elusive fighters, had been spotted, a shadowy threat challenging the Eagles' long-held supremacy in these skies. Elena's fingers curled tightly around her flight helmet, the leather cold and reassuring in her grasp. Today was not an ordinary patrol. Something was coming, something unpredictable that would test everything she had trained for, every skill honed over years of dedication. The sky above stretched vast and open, painted in soft pastels of morning light. But beneath its vastness, an unseen danger lurked, waiting to unfold. Elena's life was woven from the threads of flight and family, each strand tightly bound to the other. Raised by her grandfather, a grizzled veteran pilot who once soared the skies in eagles during the tense years of the Cold War, she grew up enveloped by stories of dogfights, narrow escapes, and acts of daring heroism. Her earliest memories were filled with the scent of engine oil and the crackle of radio chatter, as her grandfather recounted missions long past. Her mornings began before dawn, the chill air invigorating as she ran through rigorous drills designed to keep her reflexes lightning fast. Evenings were often spent in the flight simulator, perfecting intricate maneuvers until muscle memory took over. The steady hum of engines had become her lullaby, a comforting constant in a life defined by speed and precision. She treasured the small farmhouse near the base, where hay bales stacked high in the fields whispered of simpler, quieter times, a stark contrast to the high-stakes world she inhabited. Yet her heart beat strongest for the sky. Flying wasn't merely a job, it was a legacy, a sacred bond passed down through generations. The sudden appearance of MiG-29s was more than a tactical threat. It was a challenge to the history she carried deep in her veins. Elena knew that today's flight would not just test her skill, but redefine the very legacy she was born to uphold. The first sign of trouble came during routine morning scans in the operations room. Elena's radar screen flickered, a faint, elusive blip that flashed too quickly to be certain, yet unmistakably foreign in origin. The base buzzed quietly with speculation. Hushed whispers of MiG-29 staging an ambush circulated among the pilots and ground crew alike. Elena's squadron gathered, exchanging tense glances filled with unspoken concerns. Outside, the hay bales, in the fields beyond the runway, remained untouched, serene under the soft sunlight. But the air itself felt thick with unease, as if the landscape held its breath. Elena's voice was steady and calm as she briefed her team, masking the surge of adrenaline that coursed through her veins. The Eagles had always ruled these skies, their dominance unquestioned, but these MiGs were different. Agile, unpredictable, and equipped with tactics sharper and more cunning than any enemy they had faced before. The calm of the morning was a fragile veil soon to be torn apart by the harsh realities of combat. An urgent message crackled sharply over the comms, slicing through the tense silence. Unidentified aircraft had crossed into restricted airspace. Elena's heart pounded fiercely against her chest as she swiftly climbed into her cockpit, the familiar textures of the controls grounding her amidst the rising storm. Below, the hay bales shrank rapidly as she ascended, the patchwork fields fading into the distance. The engines roared to life with a familiar thunder that resonated deep within her chest, a primal signal that the moment had arrived. Her squadron followed closely, slicing through clouds that seemed to shiver with anticipation, the air electric with tension. The MiG-29s were no longer rumors whispered in back rooms. They were real, their dark, shadowy silhouettes materializing starkly against the sunlit sky. Elena's fingers tightened around the controls, each movement deliberate and precise. The ambush was underway. This was the catalyst, her moment to lead, to confront the unknown threat head-on. The Eagles soared into battle, engines screaming, defiantly, eyes sharp and hearts steady in the face of looming danger. Elena's squadron spread out across the sky, scanning their surroundings with hawk-like focus, eyes flicking between instruments and the vast expanse beyond. The MiG-29 struck with ruthless precision, their movements a blur of speed and calculated aggression. Elena's voice cut crisply through the tension-filled comms. Eagle 1 to squadron, maintain formation, watch for flanking maneuvers. Below, the hay-covered field seemed miles away, a peaceful and untouched contrast to the violent chaos unfolding above. Elena's jet twisted and weaved expertly through bursts of tracer fire, the acrid smell of burnt fuel and electric ozone filling the cockpit, sharp and intoxicating. Each maneuver was a deadly dance balancing skill and instinct, a ballet where one misstep meant catastrophe. She spotted a MiG locking on, missiles gleaming ominously in the sunlight. "Braking left!" she commanded firmly, heart hammering in her chest. The first salvo missed by mere inches, sending a spray of fragments past her canopy. The ambush had begun in earnest, forcing the Eagles into a deadly game of cat and mouse where every second counted. The sky transformed into a chaotic battleground, a swirling tempest of twisting metal and flashing missiles streaking through the air. Elena's squadron found themselves outnumbered and outmaneuvered, the MiG pilots exploiting every crack in their defenses with ruthless efficiency. Communications crackled with urgent warnings and fragmented reports. "Eagle 3 down!" The words hit Elena like a punch to the gut, sharp and devastating. Below, the hay bales and farmland blurred into a distant, indistinct mosaic as her entire focus narrowed to survival. Sweat beaded on her brow, mingling with the metallic taste of fear that filled her mouth. The MiG's ambush was relentless, their tactics honed to exploit hesitation and doubt. Elena's mind raced, calculating risk versus opportunity at a dizzying pace, searching for even the smallest opening. The friendly chatter fractured into frantic, desperate calls as the Eagles' formation began to splinter under mounting pressure. Yet, amidst the chaos and fear, Elena's resolve solidified like tempered steel. Retreat was simply not an option. Amidst the swirling chaos, Elena found herself flying shoulder to shoulder with Lieutenant Marcus Hale, her closest comrade and trusted partner in countless missions. Their jets moved in perfect harmony, a seamless dance of synchronicity born from years of rigorous training and unbreakable trust. "Covering your 6, Marcus's voice was calm and steady over the comms, an anchor that grounded her in the storm. The hay bales below flickered in her memory, a symbol of home, safety, and everything worth fighting for. Together, they executed a daring, almost reckless maneuver, their coordinated actions turning the tide just long enough to gain precious breathing space. The bond between them was far more than simple camaraderie. It was a lifeline, a silent vow to protect each other. At all costs, in the cramped cockpit, words were few but heavy with meaning, an unspoken promise forged in fire and danger. As missiles streaked perilously close, Elena felt a surge of hope ignite within her. They were eagles, fierce and unyielding, even when ambushed and outnumbered. After a narrow escape from a near-fatal volley, Elena found a brief, precious moment to steady her ragged breathing. Doubt crept insidiously into her mind. Could they truly outfly the MiGs? The hay-strewn fields flashed beneath her once again, a stark reminder of the stability and peace she longed to reclaim. Yet she refused to yield to despair. Elena's fingers tightened on the throttle, eyes sharp and unwavering. "Focus, Elena," she whispered quietly to herself, invoking the steady wisdom of her grandfather's words. "Flight is freedom, but also responsibility." She adjusted her strategy, shifting from reactive defense to anticipatory offense, predicting the MiG's moves rather than merely responding. This shift marked a profound growth. She was no longer just a pilot reacting to threats, but a leader commanding the fight with calculated precision. The sky was no longer a chaotic battlefield. It had become a chessboard, and Elena was ready to make her decisive move. The MiG's ambush intensified, their ferocity seemingly endless. But Elena's squadron began to adapt and respond with increasing coordination and confidence. Marcus's voice came sharply through the radio. We've spotted their base near the old barn by the hayfields. The revelation sparked a new surge of hope and determination throughout the squadron. If they could locate and disrupt the enemy's support network, the tide of battle might finally turn in their favor. Elena's mind raced through tactical possibilities, the familiar scent of hay drifting strangely into her thoughts as if nature itself was guiding her hand. The battle was far from over.